Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to see you all. My name is Kimberly, and I'm the academic advisor at Hospitality Academy, and I will be hosting today's guest lecture, which is the first guest lecture of 2023. We have a very special guest with over 35 years of experience in the hospitality industry, Mr. Corrado Bogni, who will share his insight on two important topics in the hospitality industry: concierge and strategic management. As a leader in the industry, he has built world-class concierge teams and has been a consultant for iconic hotels around the world. I hope you will enjoy today's lecture, and now I will pass the floor over to Corrado.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kimberly. Hi, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be here and to be hosting and delivering this presentation. As Kimberly explained, introduced me, I am Corrado Bogni. I'm from Italy. And though I spent pretty much most of my working life in London, so I feel completely 50% Italian and 50% Londoner, who's really a wonderful city and town. I really wanted to probably start before really delving into some of the wonderful specifics of the concierge world. That really happens to be for me more of a vocation really than a job. I decided when I was very young that I wanted to be a concierge, the best part of 11, 12 years old. So I made it my home then, and I really sort of tried to follow this vocational path. And as you probably seen concierges around the hotels that you've seen so far, they tend to be staying in their own hotel or their own home all their life. So they really deliver and develop a very intimate relationship with their hotel, with the town that they live in or the city, and also their guests. Maybe we can just move on to the next slide. This is just a very brief story to set the tone of my life experience in hotels. I would like to take you back to the year of 1982. I was a very young page boy that started only a few days earlier in a wonderful, stunning hotel in central London. And you can see in the slide there is a pair of shoes because on day 4 at work, my feet were totally and completely killing me. And I was really finding it very difficult to walk for even 10 or 15 minutes. And it was a Thursday afternoon, and I really came up with a wonderful idea. I thought, if I go up and down the main guest lift, and I take it up to the 8th floor, and I come down all the way to the ground floor, I will be able to have a little private moment where I can release my shoes, take off my shoes, and walk on a wonderful plush carpet and try to really soothe my pains. I did it a few times, and obviously I was really getting more and more confident with the thinking, I'm going to do this a little while longer to relieve the pain. And believe it or not, and of course, as it would happen in a normal life as a lift, as I was coming down from the 8th floor, someone obviously called the lift, and the lift stopped on the mezzanine floor. Unknown to me, the doors opened widely very quickly, and I was confronted with the executive housekeeper, the food and beverage manager, and the head sommelier looking at me. And of course, like in a comedy film, in a comedy scene, I was standing in one corner of the lift, and my shoes were standing on the other, the opposite corner of the lift. So as you can imagine, I got a wonderful telling off right away. And obviously, the moral of the story here is very simple. Do not use the lift to try and rest your feet, but more importantly, as I discovered through the years, wear very, very comfortable shoes. As you're working in hotels, or will be working in hotels, you will be on your feet very regularly. Therefore, is essential that your feet are well looked after. As a final practical note that I also developed and discovered and perfected over the years, I would suggest for you to buy, and you were not expecting for this, but buy special socks which have a special graduated compression. These socks will actually give an awful lot of soothing to the circulation, but more importantly, over time, they will prevent varicose veins. And this may sound crazy now, but I took this advice on very quickly, very earlier on, and I did see through my professional life a number of colleagues, in fact, indeed going to the hospital to actually have those treated. So really, this could be something that, for you to consider in the future. To close this little introduction of sort of life as a page boy, we just can move on the next slide to really talk about a little bit more my life as a concierge, as a professional. And in this slide, the top left, the top right picture, it is a old style switchboard. And this is actually the switchboard, the type of switchboard that I used when I went first to catering school. So going back in 1979, 1980, this was the very switchboard that I learned and I was trained upon really taking phone calls and dealing with outside inquiry. My catering school was up in a beautiful alpine resort. It was a lovely 4-star deluxe hotel that was converted into the catering and to the college. And I developed there a little bit of my sort of skills. And I realized there that there was a place for me in this world, as with the switchboard, I was able to quickly realize that I could connect people. And when I was working on the evening shift, as we were covering some of the sort of reception duties and concierge duties already whilst at school, I developed this very knack, the ability to quickly understand and remembering where all my school friends were. Some of the chefs were in the kitchen, some were downstairs studying, some were in their rooms. So I was able to connect people very quickly. And so that was the beginning of my journey. So again, my suggestion is to you, develop very quickly and figure out very quickly what your strengths will be and use and work and lean on those strengths in order to develop your future, wherever it's going to be in hospitality or anything else you will find or choose in the future. The second picture there is a big stack of papers. A guest one evening came to see me when I was working at the Britannia Intercontinental, and he told me that he really had a very difficult time as he learned that his solicitor and his team learned that they needed to make a lot of photocopies for a very important court case that was due to start the following day. I didn't blink and I said, of course, I'm here to help you. Tell me what I need to do. And his team arrived about half an hour later with boxes and briefcases full of papers. I honored my promise to the guest to actually deliver the photocopies. And indeed, I was awake all night. That night, I made about 22,000 photocopies. I collected all the documents, which were then collected the following day. The guest couldn't really believe it. The photocopier never jammed once. And therefore, this was an incredible story. As the court case opened the following day, there was a panel of people that needed all the photocopies. And the court case lasted, believe it or not, for 2.5 years. And the guest was able to win that case. And he came to celebrate at the hotel 2.5 later. And obviously, he spent a very important word with me because my little effort was instrumental 2.5 years earlier to really prepare all the documents to support him in his court case. The last two slides are really indicative of a very normal and typical question that a concierge would be asked. Have you done anything unusual? Have you done anything out of the ordinary? And were you ever involved, like in a James Bond movie, in dealing with diamonds or anything extremely priceless or extremely expensive? And I also had an opportunity in being involved in something like this. A very regular guest in one of the hotels asked me to find for him a precious stone. I was able to acquire it. He was able to pay for it. This was 5 days before Christmas. He then asked me, can you please help me collect the stone from Antwerp and get it to me in Hong Kong? And I said, of course, I'll do my best and I'll take care of it. On the day in question, when I was due to leave to Antwerp to collect the stone, all the airports were closed in London. So very quickly I decided that the only ways to actually make this happen, to fulfill this incredible request, was to hire the driver to drive me to Antwerp, to come back in time in the evening, to make a very last evening flight out of London to Hong Kong, to deliver the stone. And then not only I was able to accomplish this, but I was able to return very quickly to the airport in Hong Kong and fly back to London with the same aircraft that I flew on the way over, and return to London and celebrate my Christmas as well. So this was all completed within 36 hours. So this was another sort of story that truly really happened, and I'm here to obviously share it with you. And it's not fictional. It's really something that is not only created in films, but the concierge also create and make things like this happen too. We can move on to the next slide. This is really introducing a little bit about myself. I worked in London, as I mentioned, for pretty much 4 decades, 41 years to be precise. And my journey started in the late 70s when I went to catering school for 3 years. And then when I moved to London, I started my early years of my career were with Intercontinental Hotels. And I was at the main Intercontinental in Hyde Park Corner. And also I worked at the Britannia Intercontinental, very close to the American Embassy, sort of in the heart of the diplomatic center in London. In 1992, I became a very, very proud member of the Golden Keys. For me, I understand that today is the first presentation given by a concierge, by a Golden Keys, a Clé d'Or concierge. So I'm very proud to be here, not only to represent myself, but also to represent all my fellow colleagues as well. I worked at One Aldwych in 1980. I started in 98 until 2006 at One Aldwych Hotel. One Aldwych Hotel was in London the first ever boutique hotel and contemporary boutique hotel. So whilst a few years earlier the boutique hotel concept started, the quality and the caliber of service still needed to be perfected. And in effect, in essence, at One Aldwych, we really drove an awful lot of the processes, and we really worried about and focused on the quality of service. And we were really very happy to achieve that within a relatively short period of time. I then moved back to the Intercontinental Hotel after the wonderful spell at One Aldwych in 2006. Between 2006 and 2007, I reopened the Intercontinental Hotel, where I first started my career, with a very important rebranding there for Intercontinentals. And then I moved on to work at the Connaught, and I was there for pretty much 14 years until the very end of 2021. And now I am really working as a consultant, and I'm sharing and helping teams develop fantastic, wonderful work concepts, and all other businesses that out there will really require the help and expertise in customer service. On the next slide is a small introduction of the Golden Keys. As I mentioned, I'm a proud member now for over 26, 27 years. Le Clédor is very well known in major cities around the world and is really present nowadays in 80 countries. On the next slide, we have a little bit more of a description. The French family started this incredible society, and the motto of the society is service through friendship. So it's a network of friends, a network of professionals that spend time once a year during a wonderful international congress to really get to know each other, and then they develop the knowledge that they have and the network to really support one another, and to really help pretty much the guests if they travel from city to city, to continent, help the guests to really have a wonderful experience, whether they be in London, in New York, or in a wonderful place in Sydney or anywhere else they eat. The society really has been officially running since 1952, and nowadays you really have over 4,000 members. As I mentioned, 80 countries, 536 cities and locations, and probably the most unique aspect of the concierge is perfection in the way that the service is delivered. Perfection because very often we need to really worry about an awful lot of details to make a guest stay very unique, and very often, as you all know, hotels have more than one bedrooms, and believe it or not, one guest can take up an awful lot of time, not only for one concierge, but for the whole teams. So you can imagine if you work in a very unique hotel where you really attract an awful lot of unique customers, they will all give you an awful lot of work to do. So there is a lot of coordination there to be done. But the service perfection is really one of the essence of the concierge. Experience is something that you will gain as well, and you are actually starting now with the foundation in learning everything about the hospitality on a theoretical term. But this is a very important industry that really delivers services that are really always evolved with a lot of practice, a lot of experience. So my peace of mind, my sort of hard suggestion is for yourself to be very patient and to understand that the journey is long, and once you're going to be really developing an awful lot of theory now at this stage, then really act with a lot of determination, and act with a lot of focus on a day-to-day when you're going to be working, because you will need to practice and you will need to really gain quite a bit of experience. And I'm saying this because I'm linking it to the concierges that at one point eventually will proudly wear the golden keys, and they need to spend easily 5 to 6 years as a minimum to work in a concierge department, to work in a hotel that is really on at least four-star deluxe and above category. And there, within this 5 or 6 years period, they actually have the opportunity to gain the practical experience required to then be able to have access to an exam. And if they pass the exam, which is quite rigorous, they will be able to basically wear the keys proudly and to represent this profession, and to, of course, open the gates and the doors to any city to their guests. Just to link on this one, you've probably seen the film, but if you haven't, if you like to spend a little bit of time and watch something very entertaining that is capturing the essence of the work of the concierge in a very interesting twist, watch Grand Hotel Budapest. I think you will find it fun, but again, it will capture the essence of what the life of the concierge is all about. The next slide is really now focusing more on the nuts and bolts of the life of a concierge. And I designed this presentation really more about the head concierge position. This is the one that I covered for now over 25 years. So really, the head concierge needs to take care of the day-to-day operation and of the department and the team as a main cornerstone. Obviously, one of the other key areas is managing the staff, the recruitment and the disciplinary. Regarding the staff recruitment, you will probably